Can anybody hear me? I can't hear anybody.
I think they have themselves on mute.
Oh, that's better. Okay, thanks.
Oh, yeah, all of the signals.
Oh, you've been doing.
Yeah.
Good. Too busy.
Yeah. Voicemail,
I gotta
email,
be busy.
yeah.
It's my nature.
text, or whatever. So. But it's,
Can't- Can't be bored and hanging
it's
around.
start this computer, right? I'll look at it.
I now call to order our special directors meeting, June the 22nd, 2023. We begin today by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Woolastoq-Whig. These territories are covered by treaties of peace and friendship of the Woolastoq-Whig people, first signed with the British Crown in 1725. Attendance has been taken. Yes. Approval of the agenda.
So approved, Dale Maury. Second.
Can hear Bob Powell.
Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Are there any conflict of interest for disclosure? No. Move on now to number 5, staff reports. A, Community Promotional Funding Program. John Smith, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to the board. So at the June meeting of the board, when I reported on the funding and presented options, the board had directed me to come back with a further option at looking at a way in which to fairly and equitably disperse the funds between the two existing committees in the region, one that is working closely with the city of Fredericton and one that is working closely with the town of Oromocto and our Fredericton region rural community as well. In terms of that, we went back and I looked for a common set of data that we could use, and there was so much data, so many data sets, whether it be the number of physicians, required, number of healthcare workers required, number of patients, visitors, hours. There was so much that we could have filled a large book full. So the data set that I used was right out of the annual report from Horizon Health, and it encompassed the data set for both hospitals. And it talked about the Oromocto Public Hospital and the regional hospital, or the Dr. Edward Chalmers Regional Hospital. And there were total registrations by hour and triage. And look, again, there could be 100 better data sets, but there's probably 100 out there. So when we looked at this, we came back and I said, what would be the average on that? So we looked at both hospitals serving our region. We looked at both hospitals in size and comparison, and then we said, let's take the total out of the data set that was provided in the annual report, which would really come out closer to a 70-30 split of the 100,000. And the reality was we looked at that and we said, we should round that up because both hospitals really, truly serve the greater capital region. And even some further outreaching areas or outlying areas. So the funding, what we're proposing today, there's a motion before the board to consider, but I want to make it clear, I paraphrased in the report what the funding shall be used for, but I do want to just give a little bit out of the actual contract that was signed with the Department of Health, and we recognize that they are a key player in this. So it gives the overview of the Community Promotional Funding Program as a grant program that assists in the promotion of New Brunswick communities to physicians and other healthcare workers and their families. The purpose is to support the attraction of healthcare workers to fill clearly identified shortages or upcoming needs validated by the Department of Health and relevant regional health authorities. And then the criteria. The recipient shall provide services as follows. As part of their role in the community development, the recipient shall support physician healthcare recruitment and retention initiatives by their member communities. Establish where one does not exist or participate in one where one does not exist. A community recruitment retention team comprised of local leadership, healthcare professionals, community partners, and generate welcome community support group to help welcome and settle new healthcare workers and their families. Develop marketing plans and community asset mapping proposals for healthcare and recruitment initiatives. and direct attribute the grant funds to the recruitment retention initiatives. And then there's a reporting structure under that. So Madam Chair, through you to the board members, those are what are being asked for. Within there, we have a recommendation before the board. But we're looking at right now, as it stands, it would be a split between the two committees. I met with both committees. I met with the Oromocto committee a little while back, and they're continuing to progress in their work. They do have members from Horizon. They do have community members. They have medical professionals, and they have community members on their committee. I met in greater depth on 3 different occasions through the city. I met with their steering committee, which I'll continue to be part of moving forward, which is comprised of the city, Horizon Health, and the Capital Region Region Service Commission. I was your representative on that, and the Chamber of Commerce was in attendance, Fredericton Chamber of Commerce, representing them at the other meeting. Then there a subset to that is a working group, which I have not participated in as of yet, but includes a lot of member communities and some of our own, such as Ignite, Fredericton Tourism, a lot of and real estate marketing and others on that committee. And then there's the Fredericton Chamber Committee, and these kind of all flow up into that steering committee. And I did raise the issue with the committees that at some point our members would like them to consider forming one committee. So I believe that was everything that was directed of me through the last meeting. And Madam Chair, I turn it back to you if there's any questions or discussion.
Well, we should go to the motion and then we'll have a discussion. So would someone like to,
I will, Madam Chair. Dave Morrison. Be it resolved that the Capital Region Service Commission directs staff to disperse the funding under the Community Promotional Funding Program for physician and healthcare recruitment and retention to the town of Oromocto and the city of Fredericton in the ratio of 35% to Oromocto and 65% to the city of Fredericton. Be it further resolved that the receiving communities will adhere to the terms and conditions of the Community Promotional Funding Agreement and report back on their efforts on or before December 8th, 2023, and any remaining funding not committed at that time will return to the CRSC.
do we have a seconder?
Ernie Forsyth.
Thank you. Now, any discussion? And I'm going to start here and go around the table. So Director. Let's see.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My committee, my council has a lot of the times on non-life threatening industry issues. They come from they go by Fredericton and go to Oromocto. And the bulk of my council would like to see this split to a 50-50 deal on that. Because of those circumstances, I'd like to make an amendment to the motion that we amend this to 50-50.
So could I have a seconder to that?
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
Was that Director Moon?
yes,
Yes.
yes. Okay, now, we had a seconder. We'll go around the table and the ones that have called in for discussion. So, Director Dale?
I just want to clarify that this is going to be within this motion, that would be a 50 to Oromocto and 50 to Fredericton. Am I correct on that?
That's correct. Yes.
Because of the usage, and I would agree with that.
Okay. Richard?
Biggest issue that I have with this is that it just doesn't make any sense to have 2 committees and have 2 committees funded to do basically the same thing, because they both should be looking at a regional approach. You can't avoid that when you're in that business. And whether it's Fredericton or Oromocto, I understand there's this ongoing us and them kind of between the 2 institutions, and that happens. But and I certainly won't make an motion at this point in time or amend it at this point in time, but I will in the upcoming year, as we get to the end of the year, I will strongly suggest that we create one committee to do position recruitment for the 50,000 that we'll have next year. Because we're accepting a situation that we didn't create and that does exist and that Horizon has endorsed. But I have trouble buying into an idea that just doesn't make any sense. Splitting the money up anyway is inappropriate from my point of view. It's just give it to the committee, expect a performance from them, and go ahead with that single committees. Coming up next year, that's what I'll be.
Thank you for your comments. Director Morrison.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, at our last meeting, there are two committees that we decided that we split between the two committees. The only thing that was unresolved was how to work out the percentage. And I think staff did a great job looking at the registrations. That seemed to be a very, fair way to split it up. So I'd agree with this 65-35 split myself.
Okay. Director Bob Powell.
Madam Chair, thank you. I don't think it's an even playing field. Fredericton's open 24/7. They close their hours on the weekends a lot of times, and they're closed at 8 o'clock now. And so the stats don't reflect that. And so it's not a even playing field. We're both, like one of the directors just mentioned, we're both going after the same thing. So it's not another even playing field. If they got much more money to offer, they can steal people from us. And when we don't even want to be stealing, we just want to hire doctors and nurses for both hospitals. And we're both regional hospitals. I figured if it was 50-50, you get 500 or 50. Where am I to here? You get 50K each, and 50K. That way, when we're attempting to bring somebody to Oromocto or to Fredericton, we can offer the same amount, right? So it'd be fair. If it was 60-40, say we're going to offer 20K to 3 doctors, they can get 3 doctors, we get 2 doctors, and that's not too bad. But 65-35, 35K to try to bring in doctors and medical staff is not a whole lot of money. And we'll be competing against each other, and they're just blow us out of the water because they have more money to play with. So I don't think it's a even playing field. And I think it should be 50-50 because we're both serving the region.
Thank you. Director Marty.
I agree with Bob. In one other sense, I am on the Capital Chalmers Foundation Hospital Committee, but there's also a Hospital Foundation Committee at the OPH as well. So there's 2 different foundations raising for both hospitals. So there are 2 distinct in groups, and we are also the OPH has services on quite a bit of people as well, because they take in most of the Capital Region District goes to the OPH of the people that live there as well. So the 50-50 split is a fair and equitable. 60-40, same thing. And I'm in agreement with Mayor Powell about that. So I would say the 50-50 is not a bad thing.
Thank you. Director David Sweeney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree that I think the split should probably be 50-50. There's 2 committees. I don't agree that there should be 2 committees recruiting doctors for the same area, but with the 2 committees we have, I think it should be a more fair split of 50-50. Thank you.
Thank you. Director David Hayward.
He's not here.
He's not there. Okay. Director Tim Fox.
I'm not prepared to support either one of these because I think at the speed at which we changed and reform, we can probably find a way to form a single committee that would represent the region. I've heard it twice here now that recruiting doctors for Ormuckto and Fredericton hospitals, and I feel that people have forgotten that a lot of the smaller communities have health centers that will also have to recruit doctors and nurses and nurse practitioners. So I'm not prepared to support either one of them. I'd like for us to consider right away looking at a single committee that would represent the whole region, and then we can then it looks like it's a little bit more equitable. So that's where I stand with it.
Thank you. Director Kate Rogers.
Thank you. Look, I could support so much of what everyone said, actually. Like, I certainly see the merits of having one committee. We're at where we at in the sense that currently we have two. The funding is for now, it needs to be spent now. The decision we make this year could very much differ from what happens next year. Like, maybe we move on that path to one committee. But if we're dividing the money up, it's so funny. Before this, it all came to the board, before all this happened, I think that there had been discussion that we just split it, that it just be put in half. Now that there's been more thought put behind it, and we're trying to equate it, like, we're trying to rationalize how to divide it up. And if we're trying to rationalize it beyond that there are two committees, I mean, it makes sense to do it based on what staff have advised, which really gets us closer to a 70-30. But nonetheless, I could go with a 65-35. Yeah, Fredericton might have more to throw at it. We got a lot more doctors that we have to hire too, right? There's a lot more physicians that need to be recruited. So one could rationalize the more funding going because of that, because there's a bigger system that needs to be supported. But I just want to say, look, we're talking whether it's 65-35 or 50-50 or 70-30, this money's not going to go very far at all in recruiting doctors. Like, this is like buying welcome baskets. It's honestly, I know it's 100,000. I'm not belittling the significance of $100,000. I know it's a lot, but when you're talking about medical professional recruitment, it's not that much. So where we end up on this, to me, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. My inclination is to support the staff recommendation, but I want everyone to know whatever you decide to do, I'm not going to be upset either way. I'll be voting for staff recommendation, but I can see the merits of the other, and I certainly see the merits of working towards one eventually.
Thank you. Director Kevin, Grand Lake.
Yeah, I guess I am following along with what Director Fox said, that it seems like my outpatient or my healthcare is inundated by people that can't get into either Fredericton or Ormuckto, and that we're left on our own to recruit doctors and are in the process of doing that. So I would agree that we should have one committee, but in the meantime, if this funding is for now, I would go along with the director's decisions.
Thank you. Director John Bigger.
Well, I think the goal at the end of the day should be one committee. We're one region, one committee, and everybody working together, and then we get away from this us and they kind of thing. 70-30, 50-50, whatever the number is, $100,000, so it's 20,000 either way. What's that really do at the end of the day? When you talk about doctor recruitment in rural areas, there's many doctors who would like the rural way of life. So, and some want the urban, and the specialists are going to have to be in Fredericton, obviously, because of the nature. I guess they do some surgeries in Ormuckto, but day surgery. I think the reality is, to me, I think I'm like Director Kate and a few others. It doesn't matter to me at the end of the day whether it's 70-30 or 50-50. I think the goal is that we have to get to one committee, and it's going to take time to do that. There's no sense in rushing into it. Now, I have 8.5 days left, so I don't know how much weight I put into that, but I'll leave it with that.
Thank you. Director Derek.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
So I would have to say that I would get hold of one committee, and I would also argue that it's not too late to make that happen now. When you look at the form in the last year, completely organized politics, within 1 year. So how long could it take to merge two committees together for common good? So I would call for that to happen before the disbursement of this fund and to get the community. One is advocates and politics within certainly reorganize two committees into one. Not quite sure.
I think we lost him. Did we lose him?
Gone.
It was very hard for me to hear.
It was in his car, I think, or driving.
I think so.
Yeah, I was traveling to meetings today.
Okay, so, Kelly, I don't believe I've missed anybody.
I have 11 that commented. You can comment.
Ask if you missed anybody.
Yes, I think I got everybody.
I think so.
Yeah, okay. And just before we go to the vote, John would like to make a clarification.
Just on the funding, so the funding is from now until the end of December, and then we have to look at that funding according to the contract. And anything that's left over, as it was in the motion, would be returned. Then the Department of Health looks at what we've accomplished to that point. And then we look at that, hopefully, and it's their discretion, but my understanding is that funding would be rolled over into next year. With regard to the single committee and forming one immediately, I just wanted to emphasize that there are events that are being planned now. Some of those are coming up in a few weeks through the different committees. So I just wanted to make you aware of that this funding would go to help those events, to happen, and they are coming up. So, and they do need, are looking for some support. So I think the goal of the one committee is certainly something that we should strive for, and certainly heard that loud and clear today.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the vote, and the vote is with the amendment that we will go with 50-50, 50% to the town of Oromocto and 50% to the city of Fredericton. So that's what we're voting on. And Kelly, I'll get you to go down through and ask how they're going to vote, please.
Absolutely. I'll skip him because he's just coming on. David Duplessis,
Yes.
Kevin Nicklin,
Yes.
Dave Morrison,
No.
Richard Corey,
No,
Tim Fox,
No.
David Sweeney,
Yes.
Bob Powell,
Yes.
John Bigger,
Yes.
Derek Cleedwell,
No.
Dale Melly,
Yes.
Judy Wilson She,
Yes.
Kate Rogers, Kate Rogers,
She's muted. Must be muted. Yeah, she's muted.
Sorry, guys. No.
Marty Forsyth,
Yes.
yes.
So the motion has passed.
The amendment has carried, and now the board will debate the motion to divide the staff recommendation with the substitution of 50-50 as opposed to 65-35.
Okay, so we have to debate that again.
You can debate that again if members wish to speak again.
Okay, we'll start here. Do you wish to speak again? No. Richard?
no,
No. Okay,
no,
no. Director Bob Powell, do you wish to speak again? No. Director Marty?
No.
Director David Sweeney?
Shook his head no.
No,
Okay, thank you. Director David Hayward, he's still absent, right?
Correct.
Okay, and Director Tim Fox?
No, we don't need to discuss it anymore.
Okay, thank you. Director Kate?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, our committee is called the Fredericton Capital Region Physician Recruitment. So I just wanted to already put, so we're in our work looking at the region. We're promoting, all of our recruitment work is done in promotions, in the area of promotions. Our tourism folks are doing that, and they're recruiting the way that they're promoting the region, they're recruiting for the region. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Director Kevin?
No, thanks.
Director John Bigger?
No,
Okay, and Director Derek Pleadwell? Do you have anything further to add?
Yeah, just one comment. So I understand that there's, John, that you mentioned that there's some events being organized in the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping that, you know, these committees have the funding in place already before counting on this $100,000. So I don't necessarily see that as a opportunity, but consider merging the committees.
Just tell him you can't hear
Okay,
what he says.
I'm sorry, Derek, but from sitting here, I'm having a very hard time to hear you and understand what you're saying.
Hold on, I'm just gonna 1 second.
No.
Is this better?
Yes.
Yes?
Okay, I just wanted to say that I understand that there's sorry, I'm on the road. I understand that there's events organized for the respective committees in the next few weeks. I just don't necessarily think that that's probably a good reason not to consider the merging of the committees to not interrupt any particular recruitment efforts, because, you know, at the end of the day, recruitment is the number one thing to do. Just having a good foundation of represent
Lost him again.
in a positive manner. I guess, can't hear me?
Yes?
Sorry, no comment.
Okay, thank you. You wanted to add something else?
Just to that point, I hope everyone understands, I wasn't trying to make a play for the funding. We will, I heard loud and clear from all directors, or from the many on the board, I should say, that we have, the desire to have the one committee. And I think that's something that we should work for, but I just didn't want to be seen as impeding any events that could help us recruit those physicians for the region. That was my intent of my comments.
For the actual 50-50 split.
Okay, thank you. So now we have to go around the table again and vote for the actual 50-50 split. That's correct, Don?
That's correct. So the original motion has been changed. And so now you're voting on the staff recommendation with the change of 50-50.
Okay, and Kelly, I'll get you to call names out again, please.
Okay. Director Powell,
Yes,
Director Forsyth,
Yes.
Director Bigger,
yes,
Director Rogers,
No.
Director Mallory,
Yes.
Director Wilson She,
Yes.
Director Fox,
No,
Director Sweeney,
yes,
Director Nicklin,
Yes,
Director Morrison,
No.
Director Duplessis,
Yes.
Director Corey,
No.
and Director Pleadwell. Who is not.
No.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so the motion has passed.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to number B, the policy fin -03, the mileage rates. And Don Fitzgerald, staff member, will lead us through this, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Over the past several years, as gasoline prices have become more and more volatile, we have had to address our expense reimbursement policy multiple times. And we are now facing a situation where on July the 1st, we're going to see a pretty significant structural change to the price of gasoline in the province with the addition of 11 cents to offset carbon costs that are being imposed by the federal government. So as staff, we were wondering, how do we get out of this, off this hamster wheel where we're always looking at trying to keep pace with the changes of gasoline prices? And after research, we are going to recommend to the board that each year we adopt the rate that's set by the Canada Revenue Agency as a reasonable reimbursement rate under the Income Tax Act. It's actually in section 7306. There are a couple benefits to that, in our opinion. One of them is that the feds look at it perhaps in a broader way than other people do. They look at the cost of gasoline, the cost of repairs, the cost of insurance. So it's perhaps a more detailed approach. The other thing that the feds do, if you go look at the history, they don't always go up. Sometimes it goes down. And so it reflects the changes in the market. And so the recommendation from staff is that we stop trying to, pick a number, that we rely on CRA, who looks at this annually. And that's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So there is a motion on the floor, so.
Not yet.
Oh,
Suggested, there's a motion suggested in the report.
suggested.
Yeah.
motion. Yes, right here. Okay. So we need someone to read that.
I can. The recommendation, it is recommended that policy finance 03 be amended to reflect mileage reimbursements set annually by CRA, and that the current method for meals be unchanged. This can be accomplished by adopting the following resolution. I move that the board of the Capital Region Service Commission adopt the attached amendment policy FIN-03 dated June 22nd, 2023.
Someone like to second it?
I'll second it.
Do you want to say your name so that we
Oh,
can catch it?
so Kevin Nicklin.
Thank you. And now we'll put it out for discussion and we'll go around the table. I will start with you, Dr. Morrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with following the 68-cent rate as set by CRA. I could never for the life of me figure out why, and I don't intend to go over 5,000 kilometers or nowhere near, but for the life of me, I can't figure out why when they go over 5,000, they drop the rate to 62 cents. In my mind, it costs more to operate a car the more kilometers you put on. It's not just fuel, it's oil changes, tires, wear and tear in the vehicle. So I never really got that part of reducing it at 5,062 cents. I think we should hold the 68-cent rate per kilometer, no matter how many kilometers you put on.
Okay. We'll go to Director Richard.
Well, I don't disagree with the motion, except that there's a piece of information that's missing from the staff side. I think that I would have liked to have seen it in the model. I think I can kind of start to calculate it if I had the budget in front of me, but we should be aware of what the impact is of the decision. So how much is that going to increase our operating costs this year? It's 11 cents from what if I've interpreted it correctly. And does that mean an extra $10,000 or an extra $4,000? It would have been helpful to, not that it would have made me stop one way or the other, but it would have given me a little more information to make a decision.
So Madam Chair, I can respond to that.
Yes,
Provide
please.
some clarification. The increase in our total expense reimbursement budget would be less than 1% of its total. So it's not impactful to the budget, and that 1% is roughly around $20,000.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Director Dale.
Yeah, and I'm fine with this, like I traveled extensively for other boards and I've been doing this rate for 68 cents for a while back now. And we always have a cutoff line on the kilometers wherever we travel. So I'm fine with this.
Thank you. Director David?
The only concern I have with it is I know just a few weeks ago, Vancouver area was paying $1.99 a liter for gasoline when we were paying $1.55 in New Brunswick. Canada revenue has to fit all of Canada on an average. We as New Brunswickers don't have the price of fuel they do have in BC and Quebec as a rule. We are New Brunswickers, we're capital service region people. And I think it's a bit overstated other than taking the provincial rate. That's my thought on it.
Thank you. Director Bob Powell?
No, I'm fine with it.
Thank you. Director Marty? He's on mute. Calling in. Director Marty?
Yeah, I'm good with keeping with CRA on issue.
Thank you. Director David Sweeney?
No, I'm fine with it the way it is.
Yeah. And Director Tim Fox?
I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Director Kate Rogers?
Yeah, I'm in support of the motion.
Thank you. And Director Kevin?
I see no reason to reinvent the wheel, and I'm with CRA.
Thank you. Director John Bigger?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Thank you. And Director Derek Bigwell? You still with us?
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, no, I'm okay with it, and thanks for the question I had was the materiality of the change, but that's been already answered. I think it makes sense to not reinvent the wheel.
Thank you. So now we will go to the vote, and Kelly, again, I'll ask you to call out the names, please.
Director Corey,
Yes.
Director Wilson Chi,
Yes.
Director Mallory,
Yes.
Director Rogers,
Yes.
Director Sweeney,
Yes.
Director Morris.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Director Fox,
Yes.
Director Pleadwell,
Yes.
Director Powell,
Yes.
Director Duplessis,
Nay.
Director Forsyth,
Sorry about that, yes.
Director Nickland,
Yes.
and Director Bigger.
Yes.
Okay, motion has passed. Thank you. And just before we adjourn the meeting, as a friendly reminder that the launch of the strategic plan will take place next Wednesday, June the 28th, 9 a.m. sharp at Clarny Lodge. So could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
I'll move, David.
And second by,
Dave Moore.
Oh. Armacto.
thank you, meeting's adjourned. You did get those, did you, Kelly?
Thanks, folks.